What is up, you guys? Welcome to 10 Pin Life Podcast number 8 with the Shark, Kris Prather. This episode of the 10 Pin Life Podcast is sponsored by 10 Pin Toolkit, which is fastly becoming my favorite app on my phone. 10 Pin Toolkit is like the app to have if you coach anybody in the sport of bowling, even if it's for yourself. It is filled with tools and resources and things that you can reference and use to help improve your game and those that you might be helping out. One thing that I've actually found to be really cool is actually their ball speed analyzer. So ball speed is one of those things that gets pointed out really frequently when referencing how to bowl at the highest level. Professionals talk about all the time. You need to be able to control your ball speed, be able to get that to match up with the rev rate that you're trying to put on the bowling ball. So being able to have a good read on what it is that you're trying to do with your ball speed when you're practicing is going to be essential to improving your game. So if you're working on improving the control of your ball speed, this tool is going to be way more accurate and effective than any on-monitor or on-screen speedometers that are included in a bowling scoring system, because it's not reliant on external variables like how much the ball slows down from front to back, but also it's not going to be reliant on the accuracy of that speedometer. There can be a lot of disparity between house to house and center to center on what those are actually reading, but the app is going to be able to give you a consistent read on every shot every time. I recommend checking this tool out. You know, one thing about practice is that it's really about efficiency of repetitions, not necessarily just putting in a bunch of shots, but making sure that the practice that you're doing is effective. And this tool is really helpful in that. So definitely check it out. There is a link in the description below. So Kris Prather is one of the most prominent up-and-coming younger bowlers out on the PBA Tour today. He is considered to have one of the best touches in the game with him and Frankie Lavoie, where they're just so soft with it at the bottom and are able to control and manipulate the bowling ball better than most of their competition, and that is something that has not necessarily come easy or natural to Kris. Now, he has advanced his game pretty significantly here in the last few years, and because of that, he's seeing some pretty marked success. You know, he is a two-time $100,000 winner from the PBA Playoffs as well as the Tournament of Champions, but he's also just highly intelligent. He's really dug himself into understanding the dynamics of how bowling works. Very different from what EJ Taggett does. You know, when we talked with him, it was very feel-based. It was very much focused on communicating from what his eye is seeing to what he's trying to do with his hand, whereas Kris is a little bit more analytical. So we do get to dive into that a little bit. We get to dive into kind of what he's looking forward to this season, as well as just kind of looking back and, you know, kind of reminiscing a little bit on the successes that he's had and also what he's really hoping to see out of us as fans during shows. So I really hope you like it, guys. This is 10 Pin Life Podcast number 8 with the Shark, Kris Prather.
Yeah, I guess to fire this one off, Kris Prather, the Shark.
Yeah.
Which, did you get that? Was it actually from the phone case, or was the phone case the result?
No, I got it from the phone case. And Timmac, he's actually bowling this week. He's one of Storm's ball reps.
Yep.
He saw it and it's just sitting on the table.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm just gonna call you Shark.
It's stuck.
It's stuck.
Now everyone calls you Shark.
Yeah.
And honestly, Timmac's so charismatic. The influence makes sense.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You, sir, are the two-time $100,000 man.
Yeah.
If it's okay with you, I would like to start there because it's one of those things. I mean, Mika did it. He won the 250 a long time ago, but just purely from a clutch bowling, knowing what's on the line, because you can tell me all you want that you didn't know what was on the line, but I know you're lying. And to do it twice over, let's start with the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
You're up in Bayside, you know, in an insane setting.
Yep.
If you can describe that experience, what was that like?
It's like you're a professional athlete for real, like on an NFL, MLB kind of stage where there's tens of thousands of fans at a game.
Yeah.
But it's in such a small area that the 200 or 300 people that are there just echo, and it just reverberates throughout the whole building.
Yep.
And it's honestly, like, if I didn't bowl the league, the PBA league prior to that, because I actually didn't bowl that great in the league. We ended up winning that year, but I didn't bowl that great. And a little bit of it was the atmosphere, because I'd never experienced anything like that. You know, I'm used to everybody being quiet and no one really, chanting my name or anything like that. So it was a huge kind of like shock to me. So I think the little bit of a warm up into the PBA League helped for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I believe if you go back, I had some of the lowest winning scores throughout the whole event. Like, you know, Rash had 270, 270 and lost.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm beating Belmo with 220, 220.
Yep.
Like my high game for that playoffs was, I think, like 227. And now, granted, I didn't have any really low games. I think my low game was the very first one I bowled, which was like 202 or something like that against Darren.
Yep.
But I really hovered in that 210 to 220 range.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that was just dictated by, you know, who I was bowling and kind of the atmosphere and,
Yep.
you know, especially understanding what was on the line, you know. Like, sure, the playoffs was a little bit different. Like, I had thought about the money prior to that because at the time it wasn't a title.
Yep.
For me, I don't really care about, like, obviously money is cool, right?
Yep.
Money makes the world go round. But I really just wanted to win. And titles are way more important to me than money. So going into it, my wife and I had planned out, no matter what happened, we had planned out what was going to be used, the money was going to be used on.
Yep.
So we said, okay, if I lose against Simo, we get 20 grand. Awesome. We're going to do this with it.
Yep.
If I beat Simo and lose to whoever, I get 40, 50,000, whatever it is, we're going to use this. And if I win, we're going to, you know, build a house. And that's what we ended up doing.
Yeah.
So the playoffs was totally different than looking at the TOC.
Sure.
The TOC, I'm like, I want to win the major. I don't care about the money.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, you were one strike away from $1 million. I'm like, yeah, but if I throw that strike, maybe I don't throw the next 10, you know? And I definitely am thinking about the million whenever I get up on the 10th frame if I had the front nine.
For
like,
sure, yeah.
There's no chance
I'd be thinking about that one in about the 7th.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, I'm halfway there. Yeah, all right, I can do this,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. And it's just, you know, I know a lot of people that may watch this are either going to their first ever PBA event and they're going to watch and you know, be a part of the TV show. And there are some people that are going to maybe their 10th or 12th or, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But us bowlers, I'm going to say it to the camera, us bowlers love the atmosphere that Bayside provides.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to treat it like a real sporting event and just be excited and happy and loud, we love that. It gets us going. It makes for better TV and it makes for a better experience for you guys. So be loud, be, you know, charismatic, be just fans of the sport. That's what we want.
I'm sold.
Yeah. Like it's more exciting. Like
I may not be the one guy doing that for the next 2 days, just like the black sheep, because I don't want to get punched.
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome.
Let me clarify. On TV,
Yes,
if you come to the
right.
TV shows, be loud, be, you know, that's kind of where we're trying to go.
Yeah.
You know, and I think when Bolero took over, that's what they wanted to see, and it, you know, they didn't have ownership yet when the playoffs was coming out, but that's why the playoffs was in Bolero or in Bayside. Sorry.
Oh, sure.
Because the atmosphere is incredible.
Yeah.
You know, and they wanted good TV, and
So, yeah, I get it, and that it makes for the greatest. I mean, it's in terms of the last, was it the TOC that O'Grady won?
Yep.
Was that 19? I liked that one.
Yep.
Because of just the mass of people.
Yep.
That was cool, but it was still that traditional quiet format, and like they've done some cool stuff. You know, when it was in Reno and just trying to use the stadium to its advantage, but Bayside Bowl is its own animal.
oh yeah.
So hopefully, I want to try to get up there. Not this year because I'm having a kid in April, but next year. So, all right. I guess. So actually, the first interview that I did today was with Tom Hess and AJ Johnson, who, when I did that interview with them, I was like, oh, you are the only two guys that I've ever bowled with, completely forgetting that there was an event at Bolero in Wauwatosa 4 or 5 years ago. It was a doubles event that you bowled with Brandon Biondo, and you guys housed everybody in brackets. So you are the third person that I've actually ever bowled against. Walk me through kind of how your bowling career got you to this point, I guess.
Well, so I grew up in a relatively small town, Milton, Florida. It's just east of Pensacola.
Oh, sure.
So, we didn't have a ton of money, but every other weekend we were traveling to this youth tour called SSJBA, Southern Scratch Junior Bowlers Association. And I actually bowled against guys like Gary Faulkner, A.J. Rice, Cameron Doyle. So a lot of competition growing up. And it really kind of paved the way for my competitiveness, growing up against guys that were at the time just beating my face in.
Cameron is one of the best youth bowlers to have ever lived.
And honestly, if he would have stayed at like 5'2" instead of 6'4", he would probably have like 6 or 7 titles already. But he got tall and lanky and didn't really.
When your arm swing adds a foot in radius, it's some changes.
So like I think that was the biggest thing that happened to him is he grew too tall too fast. But I grew up in a small town bowling little youth events and traveling from Florida all the way up to Tennessee every other weekend and bowling against guys older than me, bigger than me, stronger than me, and just trying to compete. And went to Wichita State for just a little bit of time, and honestly, going to Wichita was the biggest thing for me. I didn't realize how much there was to know about bowling between, cover stocks, cores, RGs, differentials, how to read a lane front to back instead of left to right. Like I didn't know any of this. So going there sparked my interest in learning about the sport and really diving into that analytical and thought process oriented way of looking at bowling instead of just getting up there and throwing the ball. So that kind of ignited the flame as to lead me to where I am now. And everyone says, oh, you got a great physical game. Well, yeah, sure, you can throw it pretty all you want, but you got to know where it's going and understand what ball differences are and making the right moves at the right time. Like you can look pretty doing it every day, all you want, but that doesn't mean you're going to win.
Right.
So for me, it's a little bit of a combination of both, but it's been a lot of hard work, almost homelessness. I've told that story multiple times where I got kicked out of college, dropped out, was almost homeless, trying to make it in bowling, wasn't really winning any money, living off of popcorn and ramen, and then fortunate enough for my grandpa that he supported my dreams and supplied the funds for the first 2 years of my tour life where I didn't make any money. And he was like, just keep working. I'll fund it as long as you want to go. And I made some career changes as far as companies and started working with some people that were like-minded for me and started having success almost immediately. 2 months in, made my first show, and then it just kind of cascaded from there. And I'm just super fortunate to be in the situation I am now because I was very close to just quitting and not doing this anymore, and ended up winning and making some shows and having some success, and here we are now.
That's one of the big things I would be really interested to talk to a lot of the guys that are north of 40. How many times did you almost quit, almost retire? Because it's gotta be a lot. This sport is brutal to some dudes.
It really is, and especially for the guys that are maybe the generation ahead of me. They went through where the market crashed and everything,
there was
all the money,
tour, no money.
The money was gone, everything just kind of tanked. And I caught the tail end of it where there wasn't a ton of money, but you could still make a moderately good living. And now we're on the upswing, and I'm hoping it continues on that path. And I think Bolero has done a great job, and especially with Fox. Fox seems to be super interested with us, and I think that the future is looking pretty bright for us, and it's going to be, dependent upon how good can us bowlers be on TV, and can we be enticing and entertaining and grab people's attention.
I'll have to save that whole spiel for a longer podcast because I got my whole theory on that. But we're on the same page for sure. It's make the sport compelling because it's compelling. Like
Right.
just let it be what it is. Teach people what it means because that's the thing. You said it lit the fire once you figured out everything that was going on.
Yep.
Very similar story. It went from 60 feet and 10 pins to an unlimited number of variables.
Yep.
It doesn't stop.
No, it really doesn't.
And at least if I'm a more of an analytical guy, I was talking to EJ earlier. He was like, I just bowl on feel, and it's everyone does their thing. And that's the cool part about the sport is you can do that thing. You know, you guys are on the same level, doing it way different ways.
Yep.
So I guess to go along with that, what are you looking forward to most coming into this year? You know, the season starts tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm honestly super excited. I've been working really hard.
Yeah.
I've made some lifestyle changes.
Sure.
I just hit 30 a couple weeks ago, and
I did see that. Yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you. So it's honestly been physically downhill since 25.
Yep.
So for me, it's a little bit more activity. Just being outside, walking, playing with the dogs. Just being on my feet more.
Yep.
And stretching has been huge.
Sure.
Not really working out a ton, just because I don't want to be bulky. But it's just trying to take care of my body. Guys like LeBron spend a couple $1 million on their body. I don't have that kind of funds, but
Right.
but like on our scale, I'm investing more into my body, trying to better prepare me for these long events, these long days, and trying to stay mentally and physically sharp. And I'm looking forward to seeing that improvement on the lanes, off the lanes, and just trying to stay competitive.
Do you do anything in terms of exercise for mental fitness?
I practice patience every day.
Sure.
I love you, Ashley. I'm married,
Yep.
so I practice mental patience every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Yep. I love you, Brittany. I feel ya.
Oh man, I hope she watches. But no, I read books. Inner Game of Tennis is one of my favorites.
Yep.
Peaceful Warrior is a good one. It's not necessarily about Peaceful Warrior is more of a story about how an individual goes through the process of becoming mentally strong while also being physically strong.
Yep.
And controlling that anger to be a peaceful warrior, right? And anger has always been my Achilles heel, right? If I get confused, I just kind of snap and I'm like, ugh, and then I have to vent to somebody to get all that frustration out. And then one thing that I've been doing is I'll actually go outside, obviously not right now because it's 11 degrees, but I'll go outside and just yell.
Oh, sure.
And just get that angst and anxiety out, and then I come back in and I'm more relaxed and I'm better, right?
Yeah.
Just practicing patience and trying to allow the thoughts to kind of go through my mind while not reacting to them, because most people, they allow the thoughts to go through, but then they react to them like, oh, that's a negative one, I'm going to be angry, you know, or oh, that's a good thought, I'm going to be happy. And it's for me trying to just keep that even keel.
Yeah, I guess that was something I was really curious about for yourself, because from a third party's perspective, the even keel comes off. As an observer, it's he doesn't really get low, he doesn't get very high. You don't slap shots off on TV. Maybe one, but if you're bowling for 100K and it's the one in the ninth, I get it, but it's not a regular part of your game. So I was just curious and that makes total sense. It's just make it even. So anything specific about this event that you're thinking is going to be weird or different?
I think the biggest thing is that we have more, I call them part-time tour bowlers, because they do come and bowl some of our events, but they're not full-time.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily play the lanes wrong, but they don't play them how we typically play them.
Yep.
So I think the transition is going to be a little different, and I think pair-to-pair is going to be really weird. I think maybe a little bit of ball selection, because on the shorter one, the 39-footer, everyone's going to throw urethane, because it's what everybody does, right?
If it's less than 40, it's urethane.
I mean, there are even guys throwing it on the 45 because the gutter hooks. So I think, being aware of what was thrown on the lane prior to you is going to be huge, and keeping tabs of what people are doing on your pair is going to be huge.
Oh, okay.
Because, with how high the rev rates are on a lot of these guys, they change the lanes really quick.
Yep.
So I think transition's going to happen fast, moves are going to be quick, and it might not be just move left and throw it right. It's probably going to be ball down and stay in the same spot and kind of try to trap it in there and just hope it strikes. Like right now they feel kind of easy,
Yep.
but no spare shots. People bowling more on the low end than the high end.
Yep.
So once it starts getting even as far as number of people on the lane and number of shots, I think it's going to be, just managing pair to pair and trying to control the pocket.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I hope that there is way too many people here tomorrow. That would be.
I was honestly surprised. Like, obviously all the bowlers were here, but
Yeah.
I walked in, I was like, there's not many people here.
Yeah.
Like I expected more people, and there just weren't today. Even with the bowlers, like I felt like there weren't a lot of bowlers.
It was very like everybody seemed like they were here, but it was as you were all spread out. It's like
Yeah,
this is weird.
right. There were gaps.
Yeah.
And it was like, is everyone here?
Yep.
Like, because with 30 minutes to go, there were only like 25 people here.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So, I mean, like, I know that there's going to be at least 2 spectators tomorrow, my wife and Mitch Huppe's fiance. So, I mean, there's going to be at least 2 more.
Got it. That's all. I mean, as long as you got the one that matters, right?
Right, exactly.
Because you love her
Yeah,
and you practice patience.
exactly. Don't forget that.
All right. Well, I think it's dinner time. I don't know
agree.
about you, but thanks so much for the time, Kris. It was
Absolutely.
really fun to
Yeah.
have this conversation. If you're ever down to have a longer one and talk about some of the other crazy ideas that I might have, I would be down for that. We could do that one virtually, but thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.